Relying on social media alone is not the most reliable way to land clients. In this episode, I would like to show you one simple way that you can implement in your business right now. The good news is that it really doesn't matter what economy is doing, because right now, what people really need right now, people need to trust you. People need to feel that they can trust you, that you have the authority. And the most effective way to build trust quickly is by leveraging other people's audiences. Stick with me here. I'm talking about guesting on other people's podcasts, speaking on other people's masterminds, doing workshops with other people. I'm going to give you an example from my business, how I stumbled on this method, like really by accident, but it worked really, really well. So when I started my business, my very first offer was career coaching for software engineers. I was working with a lot of iOS developers who were developing mobile apps for iPhones and iPads. So like it was fairly niche. I was working with other engineers, with other tech professionals, of course, but my bread and butter was iOS developers and people who would like to break into iOS development. And I connected with a guy who was running his podcast and YouTube channel, and he was an iOS developer, and he is still an iOS developer. And here's where magic happened. We sat down together on a podcast and recorded an episode. Literally hours after he posted and shared that episode on social media platforms, I got an application to work with me from a person interested in iOS development. We had a sales call and we had a follow-up because he had his circumstances that we need to take into account. But it was an easy yes. But here's more. That person, that guy who had me on his podcast also became my business client. He decided to expand his mentorship business in iOS development. He was also helping other people to break into iOS development. Here's the thing. There is a way you can guest on other people's platforms, on other people's, and borrowing other people's audiences. So the secret here is not necessarily appearing on other people's podcasts, but really how you show up energetically. And let me dive a little bit deeper here. When you go on other people's podcasts, your intention really matters. For me, it was really serving people. It was really sharing my expertise. And we had an episode for an hour and a half, maybe an hour or so. And throughout this episode, he asked me really detailed questions like how to land jobs, the whole thing that I was doing in my program. And throughout our episode, I share my entire method, my methodology, how to land jobs in tech. And it was extremely effective. During that interview, I did not hold back. I gave everything that I was teaching inside of my program. Of course, there are time constraints, but I gave everything absolutely for free. And I never ask people to sign up and work with me. And of course, at the end of the episode, like it is a courtesy to ask your guests how people can find you, how people can work with you. That person found me through that podcast and applied. The magic here is not necessarily you appearing on other people's podcasts, it's how you are appearing on other people's podcasts. Let me break it down. When you're guesting on other people's masterclasses, platforms, podcasts, live streams, It is important how you show up. It is important that you show up with a serving heart. When people listen to you, when people consume that episode, it's important to give people enough information when they can trust you. And here's the thing, the more you think about a sale during your interview, how you say it, how you position it, how you tease them, you give everything away for free. Because listen, information is free right now. ChatGPT can give you like fairly solid advice on whatever you're doing, right? But when you energetically show up from the given place, it shows. Number one, give everything for free. Number two, you don't ask for a sign up. You don't ask for a sale. This is a little bit counterintuitive because a lot of marketing gurus said like, well, the CTA, the call to action, you should tell people what to do. You should tell people how to sign up with you. But the truth is, a lot of people right now, they're fairly savvy. They know, like, if they're interested, they know how to find you. As a good host, you should ask for links. You should ask your person who you're guesting, how they connect with you, and list those links in your description so people can connect with that person. And it's important you prepare for the episode. Sometimes you can look for the questions and prepare, but more importantly, you ask that person, who do you serve? Let's say you are a brand strategist, and a person who is inviting you to a podcast is, let's say, a health coach or whatever, not necessarily your audience. You have to tailor your presentation to that audience. As a brand strategist appearing on career coaching podcasts, that audience may not be familiar with what you do exactly, so you tailor that. And of course, the best way to leverage other people's audiences is to go to adjacent podcasts and shows that share the same audience. For example, again, if you're a brand strategist, you probably want to leverage podcasting with a marketing specialist, a person who does marketing or paid ads, or a business coach, or maybe a leadership coach who work with adjacent audience, people who would like to leverage their brand even further. When you consider podcast, how do you know which podcast you should go to? So my rule is that podcast should have more than 8 episodes. Why? Because statistically, majority of podcasts, majority of channels, they don't have more than 8 episodes. If a podcast has more than 8 episodes, chances are that that person is consistent with the podcast and probably already has an audience that you can potentially leverage. Now, that podcast doesn't have to be a big podcast, doesn't have to be a big name, doesn't have to be a celebrity. Same goes with masterminds and guesting on other people's platforms, because a lot of business coaches, a lot of mentors, they invite guest speakers to their platforms to share very unique advice. And here, when you are going to other people's masterminds, one is important to know that how you show up. If you show up with the mindset that you need more customers from that event, people can feel that. People may not respond to that. Show up, serve them well, adjust your presentation to that audience, because you have to read the room. And if it is a podcast, you don't see the room, you have to be aware of the audience. It would be a really good thing to explore who follows that person, who is connected to that person, who is reacting to their posts. And that will give you a really deep insight how you can show up. And after that, maintaining relationship, maintaining network, maintaining and building community with that person, and building long-lasting relationship can result into collaboration even further as a client and provider relationship. And that is the secret. Hosting other guests on your podcast can be powerful. Your guests can also become your clients. When you are talking to other people, here's the psychology behind guesting or presenting with other people. Another person who has the authority validates your experience, validates your expertise live on the show. And that builds trust. Psychologically, let's say if I follow like my example, right? That person was showing up every week on his podcast with other iOS developers, with other tech leaders, and was talking about career. People trusted him. When I appear on his podcast, trust was built just like that. And guess what? When I had a consultation after that podcast episode, I didn't have to convince anybody. We had a really deep, nice consultation. Then we had a conversation through DMs, and that person finally said yes. And when I asked, why did you say yes? One of the factors was, I know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, like, how do you know that what I'm talking about? I'm like, well, that podcast was so different. You share really unique advice about landing iOS developer job, navigating tough market, and that really spoke to me. Like you are the one who can help me in my position. And when he graduated, he actually sent me a message that he landed a better job after working together in the program. So this is really the secret. Again, I want to tell you this. Guesting on other people's podcasts, it is not a magic formula. It is not a magic secret. It is not a hack. Sometimes it takes guesting on other people's podcasts. It can produce quick action, depends who is hearing you. But over time, you build your authority, because when people are searching for your name, they can go to Google, they can go to ChatGPT, and when search engines start pulling information from you, and if that information, and I highly suggest that you aggregate information about you correctly, almost like a prompt for AI, search you and formulate who you are really quickly. That creates a portfolio of your appearances, and that creates trust. Who do you trust more? Let's say you are looking for a mentor, you're looking for a coach, you're looking for a therapist, you're looking for a provider, and one provider has no appearances nowhere, like does not have like thought leadership content, and another provider has appearances and links from other people's episodes, from other people's podcasts. So that is a cumulative effect for your business to show up correctly and to be discovered by more people. Now, this is what I wanted to share today. Thank you so much for listening. Do me a solid, leave the review for this podcast, because I want more people to discover this podcast. And also, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, leave a thought, share your experience, because also this really helps YouTube algorithm to recommend to more people. And if you haven't noticed, Heart and Profit Podcast has a new YouTube channel, Heart and Profit, on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I'm sharing weekly valuable advice how to grow your business the way you love, how to regulate your nervous system, how to combine timeless business strategies, spiritual psychology, nervous system regulation to build the business you love. Until next time.